Here's a travel reality check that's about as welcome as a flight delay during holiday season. Your American passport might open doors, but your skin color can still determine which doors stay open. In 2025, while we're busy debating whether aliens built the pyramids, some countries are still acting like basic human decency is extraterrestrial technology. Today, we're counting down the 10 countries where American travelers, particularly Black American travelers, still face discrimination that would make a TSA security line look friendly. And before you start typing "not all countries" in the comments, save your energy for something useful, like sharing this video so other travelers can pack their situational awareness along with their sunscreen. Because the only thing worse than losing your luggage is losing your dignity in a foreign country. Number 10. China, where the Great Wall isn't the only barrier. China, home to ancient wisdom, modern marvels, and apparently some attitudes so old they make the terracotta army look progressive. You'd think a country that invented gunpowder would have figured out how to blow up their own stereotypes by now. But apparently, some explosions are harder to achieve than others. Here's the Middle Kingdom reality. China's relationship with Black travelers is more complicated than their social credit system. We're talking about a country where being stared at isn't just common, it's practically a national sport. Black American travelers report being followed in stores, photographed without consent, and treated like they're walking museum exhibits, except museums usually have better customer service. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed some truly ugly attitudes when African nationals in Guangzhou faced evictions, restaurant bans, and harassment that made international headlines. While the pandemic's over, the prejudices that enabled that treatment are still alive and well, like a bad virus that refuses to mutate into something better. Here's the kicker. China's discrimination comes with a side of confusion. They'll appropriate Black culture faster than you can say hip-hop, but treat actual Black people like they're here to steal the Mona Lisa. It's cultural appreciation with a discrimination chaser, served with a smile and a security camera. But at least China's discrimination is geographically distant, unlike our next stop, Russia, where vodka flows, but acceptance doesn't. Russia, land of ballet, literature, and racial attitudes that are colder than a Siberian winter. You'd think a country that survived Stalin would understand something about oppression, but apparently some lessons get lost in translation between persecution and compassion. Here's the Russian reality. For Black American travelers, Russia can feel like stepping into a time machine set to medieval. We're talking about a country where xenophobia is more common than matryoshka dolls, and just as nested with layers of ignorance. Amnesty International has documented a rise in racially motivated incidents that would make a Cold War spy novel look like a children's book. The discrimination isn't subtle. This isn't polite Japanese-style staring. We're talking about verbal harassment, physical threats, and treatment that ranges from coldly unwelcoming to outright hostile. African students in St. Petersburg have faced attacks that made headlines, proving that Russia's export of aggression isn't limited to geopolitics. Moscow and St. Petersburg might have some progressive pockets, but venture outside the tourist zones and you'll discover that Russian hospitality has more exceptions than a budget airline's free baggage policy. Speaking of countries where hospitality comes with hidden clauses, number 8, Greece, where democracy was born, but equality is still in diapers. Greece, birthplace of democracy, home of the Olympics, and apparently some attitudes that would make the ancient gods file a discrimination complaint. You'd think a country that invented the concept of all citizens are equal would have figured out that skin color doesn't determine citizenship value, but apparently some philosophical concepts are harder to implement than others. Here's the Grecian formula for frustration. Despite being the cradle of Western civilization, Greece has been struggling with racial incidents that would make Socrates question everything. The European Union has flagged Greece for racially motivated attacks because apparently even the EU has limits to what they'll tolerate, and that's saying something. Black American travelers report the classic Mediterranean discrimination package: taxi refusals, restaurant rejections, and nightclub doors that suddenly develop selective hearing. It's like playing a game where the rules change based on your melanin level, except nobody gave you the rule book and everyone's pretending the game is fair. But at least Greece's discrimination comes with beautiful sunsets, unlike our next destination, Italy, where Renaissance art meets Dark Age attitudes. Italy, birthplace of the Renaissance, home of pasta perfection, and apparently some minds that haven't been enlightened since the Middle Ages. You'd think a country that gave us the Sistine Chapel would appreciate all of God's artwork, but apparently Michelangelo's diversity memo got lost in the Vatican mail. Here's the Italian paradox. They'll put black culture on a pedestal when it comes to fashion and music, but treat actual black people like they're here to steal the Mona Lisa. It's cultural appreciation with a side of discrimination, served with a smile and a healthy dose of cognitive dissonance. But at least Italy's discrimination comes with beautiful architecture, unlike our next destination, number 6, South Korea.
The football stadiums have become racist karaoke nights, with monkey chants being considered acceptable crowd participation. If that's how they treat world-class athletes, imagine how they treat regular Black American tourists trying to enjoy some gelato. The discrimination ranges from being followed in stores to receiving service so slow you think they were moving in Italian time, which is apparently even slower than island time. Southern Italy can be particularly challenging. Apparently, some Italian towns are so unused to diversity that seeing a black person is like spotting a unicorn, except unicorns would probably get invited to dinner. Even major cities like Rome and Milan have their issues, proving that ancient history and modern prejudice can coexist, like a really bad roommate situation. Speaking of countries with roommate issues. Number 6. Japan, where politeness has a color-coded manual. Japan, land of sushi, cherry blossoms, and discrimination so polite it comes with a bow and a business card. You'd think a country famous for precision would have precisely figured out that judging people by skin color is imprecise. But apparently some calculations are harder than others. Here's the Japanese paradox. They've perfected the art of polite discrimination, which is like being stabbed with a beautifully crafted sword. It still hurts, but at least is aesthetically pleasing. Black American travelers report being refused entry to bars with a smile, denied housing with perfect politeness, and discriminated against with such exquisite manners that you almost want to thank them. The country is 98% homogeneous, which means seeing a black person is rarer than finding a parking spot in Tokyo. This leads to the human zoo experience: constant staring, unauthorized photography, and questions about your hair texture that would make a forensic scientist blush. It's like being a living, breathing Instagram post, except you didn't consent to being content. The discrimination rarely gets aggressive. This is Japan after all, but it's death by 1,000 polite cuts. Sorry, members only. Oh, the apartment is suddenly unavailable. We don't serve foreigners. It's rejection with origami-level precision, folded into neat little packages of prejudice. But at least Japan's discrimination comes with impeccable customer service, unlike our next destination. Number 5, Mexico, where mi casa es su casa has fine print. Mexico, land of vibrant culture, incredible food, and apparently some attitudes that haven't evolved since the colonial era. You'd think a country that literally borders the United States would have figured out how to treat American travelers equally, but apparently geography lessons are easier than humanity lessons. Here's the Mexican reality. Despite being a favorite destination for American tourists, Mexico has a colorism problem deeper than the Marianas Trench. Black American travelers report being profiled at airports, harassed by police, and treated like they're automatically undocumented migrants, which is about as logical as assuming everyone wearing a cowboy hat is from Texas. The discrimination shows up in ways that would make a telenovela plot look more simple. Taxi drivers who suddenly don't speak English, restaurant hosts who can't find your reservation, and police officers who develop selective enforcement skills. It's like playing a game where the rules change based on your melanin level, except nobody gave you the updated rulebook. Border regions can be particularly challenging. Apparently, some Mexican authorities have trouble distinguishing between American tourist and person who needs to be harassed. The irony is thicker than mole sauce. This is happening in a country that celebrates its mestizaje while discriminating against anyone too dark to fit the preferred shade palette. Speaking of countries with shade issues, number 4, Germany, where efficiency meets inefficient prejudice. Germany is a land of precision engineering, world-class beer, and apparently some attitudes that are less efficient than Berlin's airport construction timeline. You'd think a country that's spent decades rebuilding its reputation would understand something about second chances, but apparently some lessons are harder to learn. Here's the German efficiency paradox. They can build cars that run for 300,000 miles, but they can't seem to build a society that runs smoothly for black travelers. Germany's anti-discrimination agency reported a rise in racial incidents that would make their engineering standards look sloppy. And that's saying something for a country that invented the concept of over-engineered. The discrimination ranges from the subtle to the sledgehammer obvious. We're talking about racial profiling that would make a TSA agent look laid back, nightlife venues with aesthetic standards that coincidentally exclude black patrons, and far-right groups that apparently missed the memo about their country's historical reckoning. Cities like Berlin and Hamburg feel more welcoming. Diversity is trendy there, like organic food and vintage clothing. But venture into smaller towns or parts of former East Germany, and you'll discover that some walls are easier to tear down than others. It's like playing historical roulette, except the house always remembers the worst parts of history. But at least Germany's discrimination comes with excellent public transportation, unlike our next stop. Number 3, Egypt, home of the pyramids, the Sphinx, and apparently some attitudes that are more ancient than the monuments. You'd think a country literally built by African civilizations would treat black American visitors like royalty, but apparently historical amnesia is more contagious than you'd expect. Here's the pyramid-sized irony. Egypt is in Africa, yet manages to have anti-black sentiment that would make a geography teacher weep. It's like hosting a family reunion and then discriminating against your own relatives, except the family photos are carved in stone and the discrimination is carved in stubborn prejudice.
Black American travelers report being treated like walking ATMs with legs, facing aggressive haggling that borders on harassment, and experiencing assumptions about poverty and status that would make a sociology professor write an entire thesis. The discrimination comes with a side of confusion. You're simultaneously exotic and unwelcome, celebrated and segregated. The tourist areas around the pyramids can be particularly challenging. Apparently, some vendors see black skin and immediately think easy target, while some locals treat sub-Saharan features like they're from a different planet instead of the same continent. It's giving very, we built these monuments but forgot the lessons about human dignity energy. Speaking of countries with monument-sized contradictions, number 2, Turkey, where East meets West but minds don't always meet. Turkey, the geographical bridge between Europe and Asia, where two continents collide and apparently where modern attitudes crash into medieval mindsets in the most confusing cultural pileup ever. You'd think a country that literally spans two continents would be more spanning when it comes to spanning basic human decency. But apparently, bridges work better for land masses than for brain masses. Here's the Turkish reality that'll make you want to cancel your Istanbul plans. Turkey might be cosmopolitan on Instagram, but venture beyond the tourist-friendly photo ops, and you'll discover that not all bridges lead to enlightenment. Black American travelers report being overcharged for everything from taxi rides to Turkish delight. Apparently, melanin comes with an automatic tourist tax that nobody mentioned in the Lonely Planet guide. The discrimination is like Turkish coffee, strong, bitter, and leaves a bad taste in your mouth. We're talking about nightclub doors that suddenly develop selective hearing, restaurant staff who master the art of invisible service, and locals who quote different prices for the same items based on your skin tone. It's economic discrimination with a side of cultural confusion served with a smile and a healthy dose of cognitive dissonance. The European Commission has flagged Turkey for increasing racial profiling because apparently even the EU has limits to what they'll tolerate, and that's saying something for an organization that struggles to agree on pizza toppings. The nationalism is stronger than Turkish tea, and just as likely to keep you awake at night worrying about your safety. But at least Turkey's discrimination comes with beautiful architecture, unlike our shocking #1 spot. Number 1, Spain, where flamenco passion doesn't extend to racial compassion. Spain, land of passionate flamenco, beautiful beaches, and apparently some attitudes that are stuck in the conquistador era. You'd think a country that gave us salsa dancing would be more welcoming to all colors, but apparently their rhythm is completely off when it comes to racial harmony. Here's the Spanish reality that'll make you want to cancel your Barcelona plans. Spain has a racism problem so obvious it makes their football stadiums look like clan rallies with better catering. We're talking about monkey chants at soccer games, racial slurs thrown at black athletes, and treatment that would make a medieval inquisitor blush with embarrassment. The discrimination isn't hiding behind polite smiles or cultural confusion. It's loud, proud, and unapologetically ugly. Black American travelers report being profiled by police, refused service at restaurants, and treated like they're carrying the plague instead of tourism dollars. It's like they took all the worst parts of colonial mentality and decided to make it a permanent cultural export. Vinicius Jr.'s treatment at Real Madrid games exposed what black travelers already knew. Spain's got a racism problem that's more consistent than their sunny weather. The monkey chants, the slurs, the harassment, it's all there, broadcast in HD for the world to see. And if that's how they treat world-class athletes, imagine how they treat regular black American tourists trying to enjoy some paella. The irony is thicker than gazpacho. This is happening in a country that owes much of its cultural richness to Moorish influence, yet somehow manages to discriminate against anyone who looks like they might be descended from the very people who helped build Spanish civilization. It's historical amnesia with a side of willful ignorance, served with a sangria and a healthy dose of denial. And that brings us to the uncomfortable truth about travel in 2025. The reality check that nobody wants to hear. So there you have it, 10 countries where your American passport might get you through customs, but your skin color determines whether you get through life with dignity intact. From China's polite staring contests to Spain's not-so-polite stadium serenades, the world is serving up discrimination in more flavors than a Baskin-Robbins with commitment issues. But here's the thing, and this is where we separate the tourists from the travelers. This isn't about fear-mongering or destination shaming. This is about travel intelligence, because knowledge is power, and power is what you need when you're navigating a world that sometimes judges your passport by your pigmentation. The uncomfortable truth about travel privilege. Every single country on this list also has incredible people who would welcome you with open arms and open hearts. The goal isn't to avoid these places entirely. It's to enter them with your eyes wide open, your research done, and your confidence bulletproof. Because here's what discriminatory people don't expect. American travelers who are prepared, informed, and absolutely unapologetic about taking up space in this world. They're counting on you being caught off guard, intimidated, or unprepared. Don't give them that satisfaction. But the story doesn't end with the problems, it ends with the solutions.
Want to travel like a boss despite the haters? Here's your blueprint for navigating a world that sometimes has the emotional intelligence of a TSA security line. Research is your superpower. Before you go anywhere, connect with Black American travel groups online, read recent reviews from travelers who share your melanin level, and know which neighborhoods to embrace and which to approach with the caution of someone entering a haunted house. Knowledge is power, and power is what you need when some people still think skin color determines worth. Confidence is your armor. Discrimination thrives on uncertainty and intimidation. Walk tall, speak clearly, and never apologize for existing in spaces you have every right to occupy. You're not just a tourist, you're a testament to the fact that American excellence comes in all shades, and some people just need to be reminded of that fact. Documentation is your weapon. Keep copies of everything, know your embassy contacts, and don't be afraid to report discrimination when it happens. Your experience could save the next traveler from heartache and maybe, just maybe, shame some establishments into evolving beyond their Stone Age customer service standards. Money talks louder than prejudice. Support businesses that support you. Leave reviews that help other travelers, and remember that your tourism dollars are votes for the kind of world you want to see. hit them where it hurts, in their profit margins. Here's the plot twist that should give you hope. While these countries are still figuring out basic human decency, Black American travelers are out here living their best lives, building businesses, creating content, and showing the world that we're not asking for permission to exist in spaces anymore. We're just existing, and we're doing it with style, grace, and absolutely zero apologies. Every time a Black traveler shares their story, documents their journey, or helps another traveler navigate these challenges, they're not just seeing the world, they're changing it, one passport stab at a time. You're not just tourists, you're pioneers, breaking down barriers with every selfie, every review, every dollar spent. And let's be brutally honest, this list is actually getting shorter every year. Younger generations everywhere are more globally connected, more culturally aware, and significantly less tolerant of their elders' medieval mindsets. The world is changing even if it's not changing fast enough for our patience levels. Social media has made it impossible to hide discriminatory practices. A racist incident in a Spanish stadium now becomes global news within minutes. Economic pressure from tourism boycotts actually works. And every positive interaction between travelers and local communities plants seeds for better understanding. From a geopolitical perspective, these countries are shooting themselves in the foot economically. Black Americans have a collective buying power of over $1.6 trillion. That's larger than the GDP of most countries on this list. When you discriminate against Black travelers, you're not just being morally bankrupt, you're being economically stupid. Countries that embrace diversity and inclusion aren't just doing the right thing, they're doing the smart thing. Meanwhile, the countries on this list are missing out on a massive economic opportunity because they're too busy clinging to outdated prejudices. So here's what I need from you, and this is where the rubber meets the road. If you're a Black American traveler, drop a comment about your experiences, both the challenging ones and the triumphant ones. Your story could save someone else from discrimination or inspire them to take that dream trip they've been postponing. You're not just sharing experiences, you're building a database of truth that travel companies can't ignore. If you're not Black, but you believe travel should be safe and dignified for everyone, share this video like your favorite restaurant depends on it. Use your privilege to amplify these voices. Call out discrimination when you see it. Be the ally the travel world desperately needs. And if you're someone who learned something new today, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. We're diving deep into the real stories behind the tourism brochures, because geography is political, travel is cultural, and knowledge is the best travel insurance you can buy. Remember this, the world belongs to all of us. Every sunset, every monument, every hidden gem, every overpriced tourist trap, all of it. Don't let anyone's limited imagination limit your limitless dreams. Travel smart, travel prepared, travel unapologetically. And remember, you're not just exploring the world, you're expanding it. Every barrier you break, every stereotype you shatter, every ignorant person you educate just by existing confidently in their space, that's how change happens. The world is vast, beautiful, and full of possibilities. Some people just need to be reminded that beauty comes in all colors. And the most beautiful thing of all is a world where everyone can explore it freely. Now, go book that trip, do your research, pack your confidence, and show the world what fearless looks like. Because the only thing better than dreaming about travel is actually doing it, discrimination and all. Hit that like button if this opened your eyes. Subscribe if you want more real talk about global travel, and share this with anyone who needs to hear it. The comment section is open. Let's start a conversation that could change someone's journey. Safe travels, world changers. The adventure continues, and it's going to be epic.